Hi guys, that's Kremp again today. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic eliminated from their home major here in Dallas for their worst ever placing at a home event. Not the result that Skies and OpTic were looking for after what seemed to be a promising result against the Minnesota Rocky yesterday, but Toronto make it to the championship Sunday at the expense at the start of the day of OpTic Texas. Where do they go from here, especially because this result was not exactly a Game 5 Round 11. Big storylines as well on the day. Only 4 teams remain. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Again, great to meet so many of you guys today at the venue. I've had, I'm not going to lie, probably too many drinks to be making this video right now, but we're going to give it a go regardless. Let's crack right on. Scrappy was having a few words for Octane here about, well, his commitment, let's say, on the day. And we're going to start right about here with OpTic Texas playing Toronto. Now, this on paper was a very interesting series. Toronto are a bit of an enigma to me in terms of how good they actually are. Sometimes they look really good. I mean, I was talking to people in Madrid that would tell you that Toronto were the best team in the game based on their scrims, but we never really saw that in reality. Toronto clearly have the potential, but they've not always delivered it. OpTic turn up on the stage, Dashy's got the hoodie on, the rest of the guys have the jerseys. Sky's of course on the team now for the first time, and it was not the game 1 that they were looking for, right? They played a Vault Hardpoint. The game modes seemed okay for OpTic in theory. Game 1 was a Vault Hardpoint, a map where, you know, you'd expect more from Shotzzy, and I think this is the confusing thing for OpTic going forwards. It's not been, even with Kenny, it's not been a one-person problem. There was a general feeling that if, let's say, Kenny was to go, which he did, and Skies was to come in, they would be better off in terms of slaying, which is, you know, still probably expected. Kenny clearly wasn't having a good time on the team for possibly multiple reasons, and it's still a little bit unclear exactly what happened there behind the scenes, but the bottom line is that Skies has come in and has not exactly set the world alight, but not necessarily he was expected to. He was yesterday getting a load of hill time against the Minnesota Rocker, but people will say, look, that Rocker team, bit fraudulent. Paulx had a 0.6. You know, let's see it against a ReeaL team, and Toronto was always going to be a serious challenge. You know, whoever won this series, I expected to make it to the championship Sunday, which Toronto have got on to do. But Shotzzy, it's difficult, isn't it? Because all the trash that he was talking back in January, he's had a really difficult stage. As to be fair, have, of course, their entire team. This was what they were doing a couple of weeks ago, getting 3-0'd for fun, and it's what, you know, we saw again from them today. Now, Pred had a good game 1. You know, Dashy was all right, he got some hill time, but Shotzzy was in the blender, and this is the challenge, right? It's like, is Skies, I wouldn't say a band-aid solution precisely, but does bringing Skies in fix the problem of the way that OpTic have currently been playing the game? You know, not necessarily would be the answer there, right? And at the end of the game 1, it was pretty clear that while Pred was getting kills, the fundamentals involved in OpTic's play again raise serious questions, and just bringing in Skies, you know, understandably, they've had a couple of days of practice. It's not expected they're going to turn things around overnight. That's to some degree why the timing of this change was questions, is that they brought in Skies now, and sure, at least they got a couple of series to judge where they are going to be in terms of their competitiveness. But in an ideal world, they would have had a bit more time to make this clear, maybe before the major, or they could have done it now. I guess from their side, at least they had a couple of series to kind of gauge their performance, but it's not clear exactly where they go from here, because as I said at the start of the video, it's not like this was a Game 5 Round 11 grueler. This was a pretty comfortable defeat to the hands of Toronto. The Game 2 obviously went Toronto's way as well, and it was the Game 3 that was, you know, I don't want to say unlosable, but the way they lost this final round of control should frankly never happen, right? Like, the advantages they had, the life lead they had to let Toronto get onto the point to win it. Scump obviously wasn't happy about it, calling the fact that, you know, the boys completely broke down. Beans obviously gave his thoughts, and he gave his thoughts as well in a very interesting post-match interview that I'll get to here in just a couple of seconds. We'll actually do it right about now. So, you know, outside of the back of the venue, we've sorted some things out with the league. Really, you know, big thank you to the CEO for being so accommodating, making all of it, you know, well, it's a bit tricky with the way the venue is set up in terms of getting interviews and stuff, but we've tried our best to work through a couple of difficulties, and, you know, OpTic have been incredibly accommodating to us this weekend, and the league as well were, you know, really useful. Useful isn't really the right word, but really helpful, really accommodating, getting everything sorted today. So we got Beans at the back of the venue. Beans said a couple of interesting words here, really, even before the interview started. He made the comment of like, look, OpTic have brought in Skies, but as far as he's concerned, it's not really done all that much. Certainly in terms of Toronto's preparation for the series, their feeling was pretty similar playing OpTic now with Skies than they were playing with Kenny. And it's maybe understandable given, how much has the team actually changed? There have been questions on the play styles, right? I mean, look, I thought that today with the home crowd, Pred, as he kind of did yesterday, and the rest of the guys were really going to deliver a level of energy that was potentially going to be too much for OpTic. I thought that if they were going to win, it was potentially going to be in 5, but even then, Toronto, they're a team, right? I mean, they are a team, and I don't mean that just as like, I'm talking like Ferrari strategy crew. I mean that in the sense of, they have teamwork, even though it doesn't always deliver. And OpTic's teamwork has, at times not really been there. Now, would you expect it to be with a new change they've made just a couple of days ago? Not necessarily, but I think there was a feeling and maybe a hope from the green wall that there would be some sort of honeymoon period here that would carry OpTic through the tournament, at least to the championship Sunday. But frankly, they didn't get very close. As Dashy says, played terrible the whole stage, got to lock back in for Major 3, and as Shotzzy says, bad split for myself, got to lock in and turn it around, appreciate the love. And he's obviously doing the meet and greet as well. So, look, it was great to see the OpTic fans out in such force. Obviously difficult to see the green wall kind of struggling with the reality that their team, who had won the World Championship at this venue last year, not, be able to replicate that success. And as Pred says, apologies to the fans, they'll be back. And I think that OpTic can, put their heads down and improve. But I think that this could potentially prove today a bit of a wake-up call to say, look to OpTic Texas, it's not as simple as just making this one-man change, and they're going to be back, frying the events again. Like, they've clearly got a lot of work to do and a lot to think about here, and in the end, Shotzzy and Skies both end up in the 0.7s, which is, not the, start to Skies' tenure that he wanted. So I'm not sure he played terribly here, really. It wasn't exactly like, oh, wow, Skies costed the series. There was obviously more to it than that. I will say as well on the other side, JoeDeceives has been on smoke. Insight had like a crazy turnaround of the protocol control, which frankly OpTic should probably never have let happen. But Beans always turns up against OpTic. I don't know what it is, but he always plays well against the green wall, and we saw another example of it again today. So lots, I'm sure, to say on that team over the next couple of days. We did, however, next up have the banger series of the day. This was absolutely sensational to watch, and you guys know that I've had a bit of a soft spot for Boston. I like that team. I think they've been somewhat better than, they've been given credit for. And I think, again, the result this tournament is pretty critical, right? Because Boston, look, they only got top 6. It's not a Championship Sunday appearance, but it is a good number of points on the board in terms of World Championship qualification. This game one, though, was mega against Surge, because they did enough to break into the final hardpoint, hit the rotation back to P1, and I mean, look at this trade. We had Snoopy trading, he gets traded. Purge comes in, he gets the trade onto A4. They get the time for a couple of seconds. He then gets traded out. Purge then trades out Nastie again with his own nade. Snoopy gets in the hill. Awakening kills Abuzah. He gets 2 on Neptune. Snoopy gets this kill onto A4 as well. Locks down the time. And it's just one of the best hardpoint maps you're ever going to watch here on the Vault. Cammy gets 1, gets stunned up. Abuzah manages to go the other way. Purge, though, gets 1. That's 3 dead. That's 4 dead. I mean, they don't even need the final kill as well. I mean, just crazy map 1 of hardpoint there. Surge versus Boston. It's really cool to see Boston playing at this kind of level. The concern for them, though, is that Surge is simply a little bit too good. And that is certainly true of Neptune. This guy, I mean, is he the best player in the game? That's probably a stretch. But is he not far off? I think you can absolutely make the argument. This guy's been on crack. And like Snoopy has been great as well. But man, Neptune turning up to this LAN, I mean, there was questions about his ability to execute on LAN. And that's exactly what he did. Snoopy, again, like Boston are great fun to watch. I really do rate their team. I like the project that they've gone for here, keeping Snoopy in the roster and building around him. And I think that it's working out well, and it likely will continue to do exactly that. But nonetheless, Surge are a little bit too good. And I mean, even the game 4 was like an insane banger, right? I mean, Nastie was talking a bit of trash. I will say, it's amazing how you put these guys opposite each other on the stage, where they're facing each other. All of a sudden, every single series, you're getting monumental trash talk, right? This should be the standard. I mean, this 100% should be the standard. Having the teams facing off against each other on the stage. I mean, you don't see much trash talk out of Nastie or Abuzah, really. But here he goes. Get the hell off the stage. Even Neptune on the right-hand side is talking a bit of trash. So, look, great series. This, I think it deserved a Game 5. Frankly, it's not the Game 5 that we got. And Boston went down, but it was a really close map. I mean, look, they could have won any of these maps, really. It could have gone either way, any of these moments. In the end, Surge a bit too good. Nastie, Neptune, and even O4 this series, but certainly that Nastie-Nep combination in terms of consistency has been like mega effective over the last couple of weeks, and that didn't change today. Then we had FaZe versus Cloud9, a big series in many respects, because there was a bit of drama coming into this one. Cloud9 and FaZe have done a bit of a back and forth. They played a little while ago. It was a FaZe 3-1 at the end. I think Cloud9 won the search and destroy, and back on the 16th of March, Drazah said, wow, I get to play Kremp today, lucky me, right? So these guys have a bit of a back and forth. I actually had a little interview yesterday with Kremp. We ran into him outside, and I said to Kremp, like, hey, any thoughts on the FaZe series? And he said, I think we tweeted out as well, he said, like, I can't wait to sun my guy Drazah, or something like that, beat my son Drazah, or whatever. So, you know, there's a bit of a back and forth between those two. I think it's all friendly, really, but it was entertaining nonetheless. FaZe took a very competitive game one, and I think FaZe, yes, their consistency is immeasurable. I mean, it is literally measurable. They come top 3 every event, bare minimum. But, you know, my point is that it's very impressive that FaZe are always there on the Sunday. They're always there top 3, really, bare minimum. And they've done it again. And they've done it in some style, but it's not like they've been incredibly convincing. Like, they've not been slamming people every map, and that's certainly a talking point we'll get into here in the coming minutes. But, look, they did win an impressive search and destroy after closing out a really competitive hardpoint, which I think Cloud9 in hindsight will feel like they probably should have won. The body shots were coming through too. The FU Drazah chants were coming through in the crowd as well, which was, you know, I mean, funny to listen to, let's say, always an entertaining moment. But at the end of the series, there was certainly a lot of trash talk going down. And look, I don't know if FaZe are kind of reclaimed to some degree this villain role. Like, they're already the villains on some level, right? Like, they've embraced that to some extent. But you guys probably remember a couple of years ago where Simp kind of tried this villain arc, if you guys know what I mean, right? Where he tried to kind of be the villain for a little bit. And I'm not really sure that was all in his personality. But it seems like he's kind of bringing it back here, right? Standing up, talking a load of trash. I thought this was a great shot. I think that Sam Bennett put together. And, I mean, yeah, like, obviously they edited this one together here from FaZe. But as he says, I was absolutely slamming everyone for the rest of that series. And as Simp says, yeah, I guess I'll just call games. So it was a 3-1. They lost the control phase. Cloud9 ended up, you know, they were very competitive this series. More competitive, for sure, than they were a few hours later, which I think is definitely notable when it comes down to the teams here that are going to be turning up to the Championship Sunday. Thought these were some nice words as well. Drazah was asked the question after the series. He was asked a couple of questions. One of them was, who's a leader in COD you look up to who isn't on your team? And he said, hands down, Kenny. That's the guy who I learned an awful lot of in my career. So nice to see Kenny getting some gas. We'll see what happens for him for the rest of the season, really, whether he actually makes the return. But FaZe took down Cloud9. It was a 3-1. Look, it was impressive. Simp played really well. But apart, you know, the red card was pretty impressive. The Hassy was super close. And Cloud9 won the control pretty convincingly. So, like, FaZe are the tournament favourites. At the end of the day, they are in the winners bracket. They're undefeated so far. They're top 3 again, bare minimum. But I think it's not so clear-cut they're going to win this tournament without too much of a difficulty because, you know, Thieves are coming hard. Yeah, okay, let's just leave it there. So, Toronto played Boston. This was kind of rough to watch. Like, I like both of these teams. I didn't really mind who won, but I just wanted to bang a series, really. And unfortunately, we didn't get the game 5 that maybe I was hoping for here. Boston had a big lead game 1. They eventually squander it, right? We know that Awakening's a big fan of that map, but in the end, JoeDeceives, I mean, this guy is, like, on fire, right? He had 45 kills on the game 1 of this series. Like, it was absolutely ridiculous. And they eventually made the Sunday, right? They took down, Boston 3-0 in the end. And, you know, like, after the game 1, Toronto really, turned up to a new gear. The skyline, there were a few moments where Boston could have potentially brought it back, but in the end it wasn't to be, and then the control wasn't especially close. So, interesting, right? Boston started out the tournament so well. They took down Thieves. Top 6 is okay, but again, Toronto kind of hitting some form, and they're a confusing team, as I say, because, sometimes Toronto come out and slam. Here they are on the Sunday. They're looking good in terms of the champ standings too. Maybe they can go even further, but can they beat one of the real top dogs? That is a question that is yet to be answered, and the top dog they will be forced to play is none other than the Los Angeles Thieves. I think a pretty banging Championship Sunday, right? Surge, FaZe, Cloud9 are gone, so it's Thieves and Toronto, the other two teams on the grand finals on the Championship Sunday. We'll see about the grand finals. But yeah, Thieves just frankly destroyed them this series. Map 2 and Map 3 were close, but it always kind of felt like Thieves had something in the tank, and the game 1 was, you know, indicative of what's going on. I spent a bit of time today with Scrap's family up in their suite, you know, really great people and really entertaining characters as well. You see where Scrap gets a lot of his energy from, to say the very least, and you know, it was cool to see so many of the family members, the parents, everything, supporting their boys this weekend. And, you know, the feeling was, as far as I understand, in the Thieves camp, that, like, these guys are confident, right? Like, okay, they lost the round 1, but after that, you know, they're confident they can make this losers bracket run. It's very rarely ever happened before, and Thieves believe they are the team that's going to be able to do so again. So they dominated the game 1. The game 2 actually went to a round 11 in the end, but, you know, I mean, when HyDra's making plays like this, good luck. He gets off the bomb, 1 versus 2, guns down Sib, and then guns Kremp as well for the round, and that 3-0. You know, that's pretty much going to be game over at that point, and then they went on to win the final round as well, hit them with the hot little 3-0, and still, we go into the Championship Sunday, and we have had no game 5 this weekend. These days have been absolutely rapid fire, and the matches at times have been very good. Like, okay, there have been some, you know, boring ones here and there, but there's generally been competitive COD. It just so happens that some of these teams are getting slammed in hot 3-0 fashion, right? So, quick little 3-0 for Thieves. They make it through to the Championship Sunday. They will play Toronto Ultra tomorrow. Who's going to win the tournament? We can look at the bracket and all the storylines tomorrow in great detail indeed. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.